5:11 a.m. The motel's neon sign flashes outside as if sending a distress signal to anyone who is still awake. Alex sits on the edge of the bed, slumped over, wearing a wrinkled t-shirt, staring at the half-empty bottle of Xanax on the nightstand. The phone in his hand vibrates with messages and notifications that flash across the screen like Morse code for those who have finally broken down. He pulls out a pill and pops it into his mouth. For a second, everything seems to freeze. This isn't a story about pills. Well, not just about pills. It's a story about a life where you're so anxious that you need a prescription for a prescription. The clatter of wheels from the neighboring hallway merges with the jumble of thoughts in his head. Alex opens the refrigerator. It's empty except for a bottle of water and a forgotten Starbucks cup with coffee from the day before yesterday. His name is written crookedly in black marker on the lid, with a mistake. Just like his whole life. A plastic lunchbox with Adderall jingles in his bag. He opens the lid. The pills clatter against each other as if scolding him for every missed deadline. The light from the desk lamp flickers, revealing walls with peeling paint and a sticker taped to them. "You got this." The inscription is half peeled off, the letters crooked. America. The land of free samples and endless prescriptions. We don't have universal health insurance, but we do have universal burnout. Take out a loan, take a pill too, so you don't notice that you're living in the red. On the table is a Dunkin' Donuts napkin with a coffee stain. An Uber receipt sticks out of his backpack pocket. Alex turns on his phone. A Calm Mind ad pops up on the screen. Breathe deeper. Be better. Sleep better. He swipes it to the left without even reading it. He sits back down on the bed, looks at the bottle, and hears only one thing inside. "Give me another one, bro. Just enough to last until tomorrow." Because right now it's not about help. Right now, it's about another pill. About another hour of anxiety. About another invisible loan on your life. He closes his eyes and can almost hear the neon outside murmuring to him in time with his heartbeat. You'll survive. Maybe. The first time it hit him, it wasn't dramatic. No sirens, no fainting in the middle of the street. Just Alex, alone in the office bathroom at 10:42 on a Tuesday, palms pressed against the sink, cheap fluorescent light buzzing above like it was about to explode. He'd been holding it together. Or so he thought. Q4 was tanking. The boss wanted answers, projections, charts that went up and to the right, even if the world was going down and to hell. So Alex did what Alex always did. Doubled the dose. One more orange pill from the stash in his pocket. Focus mode on. Eyes wide, smile tight, heart beating like it was trying to punch a hole through his ribs. It worked, until it didn't. Mid-meeting, slides frozen on a half-baked graph, words started melting off the screen. The numbers blurred, the conference room spun, and suddenly all he could see was the exit sign. The only thing in focus. He stumbled out, mumbled something about bad shrimp, locked himself in the stall like it was a bunker. In there, the walls felt closer than his friends. He stared at his own reflection in the scratched-up mirror. Eyes shot red, sweat pooling at the collar of his shirt. Breathe in, breathe out. He could hear his heartbeat echoing off the tiles. Fast, faster, fast enough to drown out the voice that whispered, "You're not okay, man." A buddy from the dev team caught him later by the vending machine, eyes still wide.
Where rest costs more than rent. Sleep Mediations makes calm instant. Pick your calm, press play. No signups, no tricks, just actual sleep. Like it should be. Tonight, you sleep for real. Link's waiting.
Hand still shaking. Told him, "Hey, maybe you should, I don't know, talk to someone?" Alex laughed. A short, sharp bark that sounded more like a cough. "Yeah, talk to someone. Sure. Right after I pay rent, max my copay, and maybe sell a kidney for the deductible. Because here you don't talk about panic. You medicate it, bury it, push it down with a triple espresso and a new deadline, and when that doesn't cut it, you pay someone to scribble a new name on a new bottle." So there he was, 2 days later, stiff chair, cold paper on the exam table, sticking to his sweat. The doctor didn't look at him, just at the screen. Click, click, eye contact for exactly 3 seconds, just enough to pretend it's personal care, not a drive-through. Try this, and this. If you're still seeing double, come back next week. Spoiler, he did. The bill for 10 minutes of small talk and a fresh refill cost more than his month's groceries. Co-pay, co-insurance, co-this, co-that. America loves to make you share the cost, just not the cure. Back at his desk, Alex sat with a fresh orange bottle tucked into his bag like a dirty secret. The boss smiled at the updated charts. Nice, clean, steady lines. Inside Alex's head, nothing steady. Just that heartbeat that wouldn't quit. A clock above his cubicle ticked so loud it felt like it was counting down something only he could hear. He told himself it was just stress, that he'd power through it, that everyone he knew was wired the same way, sleep-deprived, half-doped, half-awake, chasing some number that never stayed still. One crack in the wall, that's all it was. One crack, easy to patch, easy to forget, except cracks never stay alone, and every new one comes with a label, a dose, a copay, and a promise that maybe this time it'll fix what's broken. The pills worked. At first. That's always how it goes. You swallow one, then another, and suddenly the world bends back to your will. Nights stretch longer, days shrink, and you get more productive. Or at least that's what it feels like. Alex wasn't just any employee anymore. He was a one-man factory running non-stop. Late nights at the kitchen table, triple shots of espresso, half a script of Adderall, shaking hands, and eyes that forgot how to blink. Outside, the sun started creeping up, but inside his head, it only got darker. "Sleep is for the broke," he muttered to the empty room. He said it with the kind of swagger you sell to someone else so you don't have to believe it yourself. Because admitting you're tired means everything collapses. On his screen, his coworkers' faces on Zoom started to melt. Familiar avatars distorted pixel by pixel. Someone was asking a question, their lips moving, but the words were swimming like they'd been dropped in acid. Alex blinked, rubbed his eyes, and suddenly one face smiled with someone else's grin. Another disappeared. A third whispered something so soft it felt like it was right behind his ear. "You're not keeping up. You never did." Behind him, the desk lamp flickered. His laptop screen cracked under the strain like a dying fire. In his ears, drum and bass pounding on repeat. His heart and the beat argued over who was louder. Every second was a reminder. Don't forget your coffee. Don't forget the report. Don't forget to drink yourself dry. By the door, a tower of DoorDash boxes grew like evidence of a crime scene rather than dinner leftovers. Sauce stains on receipts, empty containers. Alex couldn't remember the taste of real food, but he knew the bitterness of the pills. Bitter enough to calm him better than any hot pizza. His phone pinged nonstop. Siri reminded him of meetings, deadlines, doses. Even the AI voice sounded tired of sounding cheerful, like it knew this success was running on empty. Here's the thing. 1 in 5 Americans has a prescription for something they can't even pronounce. Some think it's about health. It's really about control. Control so you don't tell your boss the truth. Control so you don't scream in the middle of the night. Control so you don't let yourself break. No matter how tight you hold yourself together, the chain always snaps. Just not today. Today, there's one more pill. One more report. One more sleepless night patched together with white powder under your pillow. Alex sat staring at the ceiling. The clock read 4 a.m. His eyes burned. His thoughts chewed on the last bits of silence. With every tick, he promised himself tomorrow he'd quit. Tomorrow he'd sleep. Tomorrow he'd stop. But today he just invests in his insomnia. Because sleep is for the broke. And fear is free. Alex suddenly realized he wasn't alone. Not in his burnout, not in his endless sleepless nights, and definitely not in his growing dependence on pills. The real office, the one where everyone is grinding and surviving, wasn't the glassy corporate tower or the Zoom meeting. It was the pharmacy. The pharmacy is the new open office. the real HQ of America's productivity machine. Here, the gatekeeper isn't a manager with a clipboard, but the pharmacist behind the counter, the ultimate boss in the world of legal performance enhancers. In this place, titles mean nothing. The startup bro, the college student, the soccer mom, they're all equal players in the same high-stakes game, all hunting for the same quick fix. Picture this. A rapid montage flashes in Alex's head. First, there's the startup bro, the guy who's always wired, always hustling, dressed sharp enough to cut glass but eyes wild from too many all-nighters. He's got a triple espresso in one hand and a bottle of Adderall in the other. For him, caffeine and pills are a currency, the fuel that keeps his venture spinning just a little longer. Falling behind isn't an option. It's game over. Next, a college kid crammed in a tiny dorm room, staring bleary-eyed at textbooks that might as well be hieroglyphs. The deadlines stack up like a Jenga tower about to collapse, and the brain's overheating like a laptop with 50 tabs open. Red eyes, shaking hands, and a stash of stimulants to keep the chaos at bay, because sleep is a luxury this kid can't afford. Then there's the soccer mom. 4 kids, 2 jobs, 1 chaotic schedule, and somehow she manages yoga and a half-decent Instagram feed. Her secret? A carefully timed dose of stimulants to keep the wheels turning without falling apart. She's juggling life like a pro, but the pills are her quiet accomplices, the unsung heroes that make her days survivable. All these characters, all these high performers, converge at the pharmacy counter. The soundtrack? A smooth, slightly ironic jazz track, like the background music to a Tarantino scene. The camera drifts slowly across rows of pill bottles and blister packs. Not weapons, but an arsenal stocked to fight fatigue, anxiety, and the crushing pressure of relentless deadlines. The pharmacist, with a knowing smile and tired eyes, greets every customer like a bartender who's heard every excuse but doesn't judge. Name? Date of birth? And what's your favorite way to ruin your liver? It's not a joke. It's a ritual. You're not just buying pills. You're signing up for a contract where your exhaustion is the currency, and the pills are the product. The pharmacy has its perks, like a drive-through lane where you can pick up your medication without anyone seeing you stumble in, head bowed, clutching your prescription like a lifeline. Because admitting you need help is still a taboo, but sweatpants and coffee stains are just part of the uniform. Even better? Loyalty programs? Yeah, seriously. Collect points with every refill, earn discounts on the very meds slowly eating away at your insides. It's absurd. A reward system for the very thing that's killing you, wrapped in coupons and marketing emails. This is the legal cartel, the narrator's voice cuts in, dry and deadpan. FDA approved, baby. Policed by insurance companies, fueled by big pharma, and kept running by a nation that refuses to slow down. Here's the hard truth Americans have learned to accept. To succeed, you have to be fast. To be fast, you have to be alert, productive, available. And to do that, you take pills. More pills, faster pills. You swallow them like candy and chase every deadline like it's your last shot at relevance. Alex now knew for sure. The pharmacy counter was the new office. Every person waiting in line, every prescription filled, was another gear in a vast machine that didn't stop as long as someone was willing to pay. This system tolerates no weakness. Pills are your ticket to keep playing a game where the stakes are your very life. And the longer you stay in the game, the higher the cost. You can close your eyes and promise yourself tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow the line will be there, the clients will be there, and the prescriptions will keep coming. Because burnout is America's new normal. And pills? Pills are just how we survive it. The pharmacy counter isn't just a place to get meds. It's the front line of the American dream turned nightmare, where you're not just a worker, not just a patient, but a customer in a system designed to profit from your exhaustion. The game continues. And the stakes? You. Alex's tolerance for pills outpaced his paycheck. Every day demanded higher doses, stronger pills to numb the anxiety and exhaustion that kept piling up. His bank account was already on life support, stretched thin by medical bills and mounting expenses. Meanwhile, the gap between his growing needs and shrinking wallet kept widening like a bad joke with no punchline. Then, it happened at the worst possible moment. right in the middle of a high-stakes client presentation. His head suddenly felt heavy and detached, his thoughts scrambled and incoherent. The world blurred, and his hands started shaking. Words caught in his throat, his vision tunneled, and before he could blink, he slumped into his chair, utterly drained and collapsing under the weight of everything. The room fell into a stunned silence. Even the coffee cup on the table seemed to freeze, tilting slowly and spilling its contents in slow motion, a cruel symbol of time stopping in that moment. The office heartbeat skipped a beat. All eyes locked onto Alex, the guy who just yesterday seemed unstoppable. Soon, the HR team swept in like corporate paramedics. "For your own good," they said, wrapping the blow in corporate compassion. "We're putting you on medical leave. Time to rest. Time to recover." But inside Alex, nothing was recovering. His world was crumbling. Friends and colleagues slowly faded away, not because they stopped caring, but because they couldn't understand how to handle his meltdown. Their lives kept spinning, while his shattered reality became a silent chasm between them. Meanwhile, office inboxes buzzed with well-meaning emails about mental health awareness days and employee wellness initiatives. "We care about your well-being," read one message, sent while Alex lay unconscious in that quiet room, forgotten and invisible. The narrator's voice cuts in, cold and unflinching. Turns out burnout isn't great for quarterly reports. And then there was the boss, delivering the corporate version of a eulogy. "We care about your mental health, Alex, just not on company time." Those words hit like a verdict. A clear message that the system had no room for broken or tired players. Weakness wasn't an option. The office emptied. The coffee drop fell to the desk. The HR jargon echoed into static noise, white noise that drowns out every cry for help. Alex was left alone with silence, swallowed by a world that demanded non-stop hustle no matter the cost. This was the crash, not just a physical or nervous breakdown, but the breaking point of a system designed to burn you out while expecting you to perform. There was no time for healing here, only pauses, brief, temporary stops, before the game demanded you return and burn out all over again. Alex found himself on the sidelines of the corporate race, isolated and forgotten. His story wasn't unique. It was a reflection of countless others caught in the endless cycle of pills, pressure, and pretending. And in that silence, that space between crashing and trying to stand back up, a question whispered, "What now?" Because crashing doesn't mean the end. It's a warning signal, a sign the system, and us, are broken. But nobody's ready to listen. In a world that values reports more than people, weakness is a luxury no one can afford. Alex fell. But the game went on. And the stakes? Still the same. Your life, your mind, your ability to survive a ruthless world. Freedom from the corporate leash wasn't the relief Alex expected. Quitting cold turkey sounded heroic. Simple even. Just stop swallowing pills and everything will fix itself, right? Except his body and mind didn't get the memo. The first test hit him like a brick wall. He was standing in aisle 7 of a grocery store, boxed mac and cheese to the left, discount canned beans to the right, trying to focus on his shopping list. But his heart was hammering so hard it felt like it was punching a hole through his ribs. His breath came in ragged, shallow gasps. His fingers trembled around the handle of his basket. And then, like a sad joke, the half-empty Xanax bottle slipped out of his pocket, clattered to the tile, pills scattering like tiny white breadcrumbs marking the trail of his meltdown. He hit rock bottom right there in front of the frozen dinners. Strangers passed by pretending not to see him coming apart. His knees buckled, his brain flooded with static. This was the floor, the real bottom nobody posts about on LinkedIn. By the time he stumbled back to his car, the panic attack had drained him dry. The last tiny illusion that he could just power through it was gone. He knew he couldn't muscle his way out of this. So he did the next desperate thing, dove headfirst into the digital rabbit hole. Google became his therapist, his confessor, and his only friend at 3 a.m. He typed one doomed question after another. How to calm down without meds, how to survive panic attacks, best meditation apps, online therapy burnout. Each link promised a fix, a life-changing hack that would rescue him from the mess he'd made. And there it was, the great American loop. Work until you break, then pay someone to fix what broke you. So he did. He signed up for everything. Free trials, freemium versions, one-click downloads that promised this time it's different. He sat in bed in the dark, screen glow on his face like a modern campfire, scrolling through endless expert advice on how to sleep, how to breathe, how to think happy thoughts while the walls close in. Outside, the hum of the city was replaced by a soft, sterile silence in his cheap motel room. The upbeat jazz soundtrack that once drove his hustle faded into ambient synths, digital lullabies trying to hush the chaos between his ears. And then, maybe by accident, maybe by sheer desperation, he found it. Calm Mind. Another app, another promise. But this one came with a soft voice that guided him through simple, awkward breathing exercises. Inhale, hold, exhale, again and again. And for a minute, just one stolen minute, it worked. His shoulders dropped a fraction. His pulse didn't slam so hard against his ribs. The hurricane in his skull slowed from a Category 5 to a dull storm. It wasn't a cure, but it was something. A pause. A pocket of air in a room that had felt airless for months. And in that tiny, shaky moment, Alex realized maybe, just maybe, there was another way. A way that didn't end in an empty bottle or another prescription slip. Maybe there was a path where he could fix more than just the symptoms. It was nothing heroic. He still felt like a ghost drifting between panic and hope. But sitting there, on scratchy motel sheets at 3:07 a.m., he closed his eyes and took another breath. Then another. Each inhale was a small rebellion. Each exhale a quiet promise that he hadn't given up yet. Finding a new way wasn't going to be pretty. It wouldn't be quick. And it definitely wouldn't be free. Because in America, nothing about healing comes without a price tag. But in that breath, Alex tasted something he hadn't felt in a long time, a flicker of possibility. So he breathed in, and out, and in, and out. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep going. Sometimes real help doesn't come in an orange bottle. Sometimes it looks like awkward silences, forced small talk, and uncomfortable truths you've been ignoring for years. Alex didn't learn this from his doctor. He learned it sitting in a stiff chair in a therapist's office that smelled like peppermint tea and fresh printer paper. He'd laughed at therapy once. Too soft, too slow, too not for guys like him. Guys like him powered through. Guys like him worked through the pain, then swallowed it with a pill and an iced coffee the size of a fire extinguisher. But the crash changed all that. When you're scraping Xanax off a grocery store floor, you stop feeling too tough for help. So here he was, first session. Neutral carpet, neutral smile across from him, a notebook open. Alex hunched in his chair, keys jangling in his pocket like an excuse to run if he had to. The therapist didn't say much at first. Just listened. When he finally did speak, it was one of those questions that stick to your ribs. When's the last time you didn't hustle? Alex barked out a laugh, the defensive kind, the kind that hides the crack in his voice. When's the last time America didn't? The therapist smiled a tiny, tired smile as if he'd heard that one 1,000 times, because he probably had. It didn't fix anything. There was no lightning bolt, no big reveal. But it did something more important. It made Alex admit to himself that the hustle had broken him, and that maybe it was okay to be broken for a while. After that, tiny changes came like pulling teeth. He didn't sprint toward a new life. He limped. The first thing he did was open his phone, hover over the work email app that pinged him awake at 2 a.m. that buzzed with urgent in all caps. He stared at it. His thumb trembled. Then, delete. Silence. No explosion. No boss breaking down the door. Just quiet. And a gap where the panic used to live. He opened settings and did something even scarier. Turned off Slack notifications. No more random pings from someone wanting a deck by dawn. No more fake emergencies.
Oh look, a meditation ad. How original, right? Except this one works. You press play, you actually sleep and reprogram your mind. No BS, no cosmic promises. Just sleep that rewires your mindset tonight. Link below. Try it. Or keep doom scrolling. Up to you.
Just the dull hum of nothing. But he needed something to fill that space, so he turned Calm Mind notifications back on. Simple nudges. Take a breath. Time for bed. Log your sleep. Try again tomorrow. A new voice in his pocket. Not a boss, not a deadline, just a soft reminder that maybe rest was an option too. Mornings changed shape. He didn't wake up to an alarm screaming that he was already behind. He pulled on dusty old running shoes. No plan, no playlist to hype him into a sprint. Just a slow jog under streetlights blinking off for the day. The cold neon that used to color every scene in his head faded into a warm sunrise. The frantic drum and bass he used to pump into his ears got swapped for soft piano. He didn't check his pace. He didn't care. Every footstep was permission to just exist. He came home to coffee, not as fuel for another all-nighter, but as a small ritual to sit by the window and notice that the world was still turning, with or without him breaking himself to keep up. Of course, the old voices didn't disappear overnight. They whispered, "One more pill. One more late night. You could get ahead again." But every ping from Calm Mind dragged him back. "Hey, breathe. Did you sleep? It's enough for today." He hated how much he needed those reminders, and loved them too. Therapy became a standing date on his calendar. Weirdly, the only meeting that didn't stress him out. He still cracked jokes, still rolled his eyes, but every session shaved off a little more of the armor he'd built around the truth. That he wasn't a machine. That maybe he'd never been one. Nobody was clapping for him. No push notifications praised him for not working at midnight. But if you asked Alex now what success looked like, he'd point to this. No shaking hands. No new prescription. No skipped heartbeat at the sight of an email header that reads urgent. Just breathe. Just sleep. Just a human being, remembering how to be human again. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't viral. It wouldn't go in a quarterly report. But it was real. Sometimes real help isn't glamorous. It's a single step, one awkward conversation, one deleted email, one notification that says, "Good job. You did nothing today. You're still here." And sometimes that's enough to keep going. Alex's life didn't get fixed. It didn't transform into some viral redemption arc with hashtags and before and after photos. It just got real. Messier than he'd like, quieter than he'd imagined, but more his than it's ever been. The first test came on a Tuesday morning when his old boss called. Same voice, same forced warmth. "Alex, hey, we've got this project. Big client. Quick turnaround. Good money. We need you back on the team." A year ago, he would have said yes before they finished the pitch. He would have grabbed his laptop, filled a to-go cup with burnt coffee, popped an Adderall on the way in, and told himself this time he'd handle it. But standing in his half-unpacked kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, Alex realized the hustle didn't own him anymore. He didn't owe them his sleep, his sanity, his pulse. So he took a breath, a real one, and said, "No. Thanks, but no." And just like that, the line went dead. And so did the part of him that thought he was only worth what he could deliver under deadline. A few days later, he sat across from his mom for the first time in what felt like forever. Same tiny kitchen table, same chipped mug she always offered him. The TV murmured in the other room, but neither of them paid it any mind. She looked at him. Really looked at him. The way moms do when they've run out of small talk but still need to know the one thing that matters. "How are you?" she asked. Simple. Heavy. He could have lied. He could have defaulted to fine mom the way he always did. But for once he didn't. He shrugged, let out the smallest laugh and said, "Better. Not great, but better." She smiled. Not big, not dramatic, but enough to remind him why he'd come home in the first place. Back in his apartment, the windows stayed open. Sunlight spilled across the floor instead of the blue glow of his laptop screen. The birds outside didn't care about deadlines or unreturned emails. They just filled the morning with noise he didn't have to drown out with caffeine. His phone, once a grenade of work pings and calendar alerts, now vibrated for one thing: calm mind. 21 days mindful. He looked at that tiny badge like it was a medal from a war he didn't realize he'd been fighting for a decade. No one else would care. HR wouldn't send a balloon bouquet for that. But to Alex, it meant he hadn't run back to the bottle in his desk drawer or the bottle on his nightstand. Sometimes at 3 a.m., the old itch still woke him up. The voice whispered, "One Xanax won't kill you. One night, one quick fix." But now, instead of stumbling to the medicine cabinet, he sat on the edge of his bed and breathed. 10 inches. 10 out. Sometimes he opened Calm Mind, let that calm robotic voice remind him, "You're here. You're breathing. That's enough for now." Some nights it worked, some nights it didn't, but he stayed. No shortcuts, no scripts. He wasn't a hero, not the startup warrior he used to pretend to be, not the productivity machine with an empty fridge and a wallet full of pharmacy receipts. Just a guy learning to say no, to sit still, to answer his mom's calls. If you asked him now what success looked like, he wouldn't show you his bank balance or a perfectly optimized calendar. He'd point to the window cracked open to a spring breeze, the cup of coffee balanced on his knee, not gulped between meetings but sipped because it tastes good. The voicemail from work he didn't bother to check. The quiet buzz on his screen, 21 days mindful. Healing isn't glamorous, it doesn't trend. No one wants to see you skip happy hour for a solo walk or delete Slack for a 10-minute nap. But you know what else isn't glamorous? Dropping dead at 33 under flickering fluorescent lights while your inbox dings with urgent. So maybe this new normal is boring. Maybe it's slow. Maybe nobody claps when you turn down the job that almost broke you. But for Alex, that's exactly the point. Boring can be beautiful when you've lived inside chaos long enough to forget what quiet feels like. He doesn't know how long this will last. He doesn't trust himself to never slip. But for now, he's awake for his life. No pills to muffle it. No boss to hijack it. No illusion that he has to die on the hill of always on. This time, his big win isn't a promotion. It's an open window, a clean breath, a small voice that whispers, "Hey, you made it another day without going back. And today, that's enough." That same flickering motel sign. The cheap neon beacon for anyone still wandering at 3 a.m., lost and desperate. Only this time, Alex walks past it sober. No more pills in his hand, no more panicked calls to work, no more drowning in deadlines. Just steady steps down a quiet street. His phone buzzes in his pocket. Old habit makes him want to check it. Maybe it's the boss again, with another urgent message, another project that needs him back. But he doesn't. Not this time. He lets it vibrate. Let whoever's waiting on the other end wait a little longer. Because now, he's learning the hardest lesson of all. You can run from your boss, from your bills, even from your own bad habits, but you can't outrun yourself. Years ago, Alex thought he could outrun it all. If he swallowed enough Xanax, popped enough Adderall, worked harder and faster, pushed through the pain and exhaustion, maybe he could stay ahead. But the truth caught up to him. In an office bathroom, in an empty fridge, in shaking hands and blank stares. You can't cheat your own mind. Now he walks past that motel like a ghost from his own past. He remembers sitting on that parking lot curb, late night staring at his laptop, waiting for a pat on the back that never came. The job was never about praise. It was about pills, deadlines, and the slow burn that consumed everything. He hears the phone buzzing again, this time a voicemail from his old boss. "Alex, where are you? We need you, now." Once he would have jumped to answer, to prove he could still carry the load, to keep chasing a life that was already breaking him. Now he lets it go to voicemail, unread, unanswered. Let it wait. He walks on. He doesn't owe anyone this version of himself anymore. No more pretending, no more false bravado, no more trading health for hustle. He isn't a hero or a warrior, Just a guy who learned to stop running, to stop hiding behind prescriptions and panic. Looking up at the flickering neon, he feels something unexpected, a small, genuine smirk. Not the forced grin of a burnout trying to convince the world he's fine, but a quiet acknowledgement. He's still here. He's still breathing. And that counts for more than any deadline, any paycheck, any pill. You can outrun your boss. You can outrun your bills. You can outrun bad habits, toxic people, even your own mistakes. But you can't outrun yourself. Sooner or later, you have to face who's been waiting inside all along. Alex pauses under the neon light. Freeze frame. That smirk stays. The buzzing voicemail fades into silence. Soft lo-fi beats pulse quietly in the background. Steady, calm, real. This was Alex. One burnout among millions. One guy who thought a pill could fix the chaos inside. One more in a country where anxiety is a prescription away and healing often comes at a price you didn't bargain for. Next time you reach for that bottle, maybe ask, who really profits from your pain? Who's keeping the lights on while you're just trying to survive? Maybe it's not just you chasing a fix, it's an entire system built to keep you running. The screen fades to black. The credits roll over the ignored voicemail. A final message lingers, quiet but clear. Stay awake. Stay alive. Because sometimes the hardest fight isn't against the world. It's against giving up on yourself. And today, Alex is still standing.